There is a story about this lady that was a writer's wife, Tabitha. And one time she was in the kitchen and she found some papers in the trash can, and she took them out, and it turned out to be the first chapter of a book that her husband had been writing, but he got rid of that first chapter because he thought that that was the worst book that he had ever started to write, because he didn't know the book was about a teenager, and he didn't know anything about the life of teenagers. Tabitha read that first chapter, and she convinced him to finish the book. So he finished the book, and he sent it to DoubleTree Books, and they ended up printing the book, and it was Carrie by Stephen King. So not long ago after that, he got paid $2,500 for that book, for writing that book. DoubleTree got an agreement with another company to make the pocketbooks size of Carrie, and he ended up getting $200,000 for that, half what the company made with it. The company, actually, DoubleTree Books, made $400,000, and he got half of that money, which was, he was really struggling with his wife, and they had a daughter, and that was the first time that pretty much that's when his life changed. That's when he got enough money to say, okay, we can move, get a better house, and take care of ourselves and our daughters. So that was a breaking point, let's say, or the breakthrough for him. If we think about that story, Tabitha got that chapter from the Stephen's book chapter from the trash can. I mean, that was something that he had given up because he just didn't feel like, okay, not knowing anything about the life of teenagers, I don't know how am I gonna come up with the story of Carrie. And that is something I like to learn from the story, the fact that sometimes we don't need to know you don't need to know everything about a topic or whatever it is that you want to do or be, to really start working on it. Sometimes you need to know enough, and while you're working on it, you do the research, and you study, and you learn more. And if we really needed to be experts at everything we want to do, nobody will do anything ever. I mean, so many inventions throughout history have been created out of accidents and situations that they just made it. They just turned out to it just turned out to come up with something that ended up creating an invention, you know. But in the beginning, they really didn't have, that was not the goal in mind, let's say. Stephen King, he being a kid, he struggled with darkness, he struggled with funerals, he struggled with so many different things, with sewage, that in the end he ended using all that as the theme of his novels, of his books. And he learned how to use his fears. He learned how to put his fears on paper and use that as something that in the end he will be creative with it, and create and make the books about it. I think it's a very common misconception that we all have, that if I want to write a book, or if I want to be a painter, or if I want to be a carpenter, or if I want to start singing or something, like I had to be super talented, and if I want to be a singer, I gotta have a really beautiful voice, and by the time I 6 or 7 years old, I should already be taking singing lessons and things like that. And it doesn't happen that way. I mean, it's we only hear the stories. When we hear stories about athletes or singers or businessmen that have been successful, it's usually the stories of people that say that they started at a very young age, and this is a nice story to tell. Why? Because they started super early, and this shows the dedication that these people have had throughout their lives. But if you really scratch in the history of every field, successful people in every field, you're gonna find people that many of them started at a very, you know, not at an early age, but some of them probably started after 10 years old, after 20. You have the story of the owner, I believe is Kentucky Fried Chicken, that he ended up being successful after he was 50 or 60 years old when he founded Kentucky Fried Chicken. And just like him, I don't think there is an success comes because of the age. It comes because of the time when you say, okay, I'm ready to do something that is different, and I believe it and I like it. And more than anything, I have faith that I can do it, because you're gonna go through so many problems that you got to have that faith to really push you through, to transcend everything that is all the adversities that you're gonna have to face. But it's very important not to let your age or even your economical position, or where you live right now, or how you feel right now. There is always a possibility of turning things around. But in order to do that, you have to start working, instead of focusing so much on what you need to work on the outside, regarding the goal that you're gonna be pursuing or chasing. You have to first look inside of you and say, okay, what are the things that I need to change about myself? I probably need to change, and you probably need to work on discipline, probably need to work more belief, on your self-perception, on confidence, or things like that. So I just wanted to tell the story about Stephen King. I think it's a nice story, and we can learn from it. And well, I hope you like it. Give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.